Good evening and welcome to the Transportation Committee for Thursday, June 16th. My name is Debbie Drawe, and I have with me on the Transportation Committee Lori Enos, Mary Sweeney, Dan McCluster. I have also from the town of Penfield, Eric Tate, our Director of DPW, Mark Valentine, our town engineer, and Linda Cummings here from the engineering department. So welcome to the meeting this evening. Our first order of business before us is the approval of minutes from April 21st. Would anyone like to give a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Great. Motion from Lori Enos to move minutes and second by Mary Sweeney. Any discussion, anyone?
No, I just want to say thank you for all the work you do on the minutes. I mean, how many pages of minutes is this? It's just amazing, the detail that you get. So thank you. You do a fabulous job.
She does.
Yeah.
As well.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay. All those in favor of the minutes tonight, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so next order of business is under committee discussion. We have our first item is the Kyle Drive speeding concern and with a resident email. So Mr. Valentine, is that under your purview or?
I don't know if this came into Eric or I. We did share with the committee. I've got it up on the screen. So Kyle Drive, concern about the speeds on the road. Some from commercial vehicles, medical service vehicles. It is a cul-de-sac. There are some streets that feed into it. We can put out the traffic counters on it. We just got done doing them on Valley Green Drive, and we just put them on Lazy Trails. We just pulled them up. We can put them down. I know I think we had a Guy Grace request last time, so we can kind of put it down and gather some data and see what we're working with. I know they asked, about lowering the speed. It's likely probably already a 25 mile per hour speed limit, as most of our neighborhoods are. That's the state minimum. We cannot lower the speed limit below that, by state law, so we can't do that. Speed humps, we've talked about that many times in this group, and that's not our go-to method. And then issuing tickets from an officer. I think us gathering some data first, and then we can go back to the officers and share. This time of day, we've seen some peaks on Valley Green. The numbers were decent, but the 7 to 8 a.m. hour seem to be kind of the peak areas, so we can share that with the sheriff's office and say between 7 to 8 a.m. seems to be the peak with some speeders or people going over the speed limit, and then that gives them at least a defined period of time to.
And probably Kyle Drive is not really a cut-through drive, so it's obviously probably the residents that are living there?
Yeah, I mean, it does, feed off, some of the side streets feed into it, but I don't see that, Woody Drive, you're not getting anywhere any faster off of Qualtro by going into the neighborhood and around.
Right.
Kyle does have some other feeders into it. And I say it is a cul-de-sac, but I think many of their comments was about commercial vehicles, delivery trucks. We've heard that before. Those are a little tougher than, if it's the neighbors, we can, we've sent letters before, we've done other methods. When it's delivery vehicles, it's commercial vehicles, it's a little tougher to, other than the mail person, the people delivering for Amazon could be there one day and not there the next, or, it's a little harder to, canvass some of those companies, but, we can at least put the speed counters out there, gather some data. I know Eric's got a list of locations for the speed cart. He'll be moving around this summer, so we can look at some other means and methods to at least, one, gather data, and two, to try to educate residents about, the speeds and monitoring what they're doing.
Great. Any comments from?
Well, it seems like from her email that she's concerned about the group home and the foster care home. She mentions medical service vehicles. Maybe just a letter to both of those places to ask their employees and
service providers
to be aware of traffic, that could be the main issue. I mean, it's a cul-de-sac. It's got, like you said,
Right.
residents, but it could be these people that don't live there that are in a hurry to get to or from work.
That's a good point, Lori. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other? I think that's a good next steps, the traffic counter, and maybe the letter as well, letters to those
Yeah.
to those providers in that group home and foster home.
Yep,
Any other
we can do that.
comments or?
Okay,
Great.
we'll follow
Okay.
up.
Sounds good. Thank you. Next, we have Browncroft Boulevard, commercial vehicle speeding update. We have an email from Captain Scott Alberti, I believe. Next.
Yeah, so again, pulling it up on the screen here for those in the audience, there were some concerns, complaints about commercial vehicles speeding on Browncroft Boulevard. They do have a special unit, so they sent their unit out. There was 10 commercial vehicles stopped, inspected. Out of those, 7 were placed out of service. 9 were tickets were written, and they identified 42 federal regulation violations. So hopefully that'll send a message back to the companies, whoever. Obviously, if we've got equipment or vehicles on the road that shouldn't be, or either they're overweight or they're, driving too fast, many thanks to the sheriff's office for following up on that, and then hopefully that'll send a message back to everybody else to pay attention, drive carefully, drive, vehicles that, don't have violations on them on our road, which, obviously is unsafe for all of us. So.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it was just a good response from
Yes.
the captain, and, appreciate them doing that, and then obviously wanted to share that with the committee and share that, they're out there, they're looking for these items, and hopefully getting some of these vehicles off the road, and hopefully getting some of the drivers to pay, closer attention to the speed limits.
Great. Any other comments on that? Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. And next, we have Greenwood Park, parking on Scribner Road. I think we have an email from our own Transportation Committee member, Mary Sweeney.
Thank
Mary?
you, Deb. Yes, I noticed the cars parked. It just seemed like more cars the weekend that I saw them, and I thought I'd send Mark a note about it. And I had to look back in our minutes because we had discussed this area a couple of times, but as I look back, we left the event to the law enforcement, not necessarily myself policing the area. But, you can't help it because Lori and I both live near Greenwood Park. It's clearly marked with no parking on the side of Greenwood Park, and then on the opposite side, it says no standing. But I just wondered what our role was with this at this point, because we had left it that, again, that we'd have law enforcement contact, just enforce whatever they
I think we were
needed to
supposed to
do.
also have the coaches
And
tell
then-
parents too,
then,
not to park there.
I think one of the comments, I look back at my notes, and this goes back to September of 18, that we were going to contact the events persons and see if we could get some help that way. But I'm not sure what we need to do at this point. I don't know if tickets were given at the time that we first got the notice, because residents had also sent us some notes about the cars being parked and people couldn't get through the sidewalk and so forth. And I don't know if law enforcement needs to perhaps contact the organizations and get a schedule or something. I'm not sure at this point what our role. I think we did mention in the September of 18 that it wasn't really a transportation issue. We did say that when I look back at my notes. But at the same time, individuals are coming to us looking for some kind of resolution to all the cars being parked there. I don't know what the event was the particular weekend that I witnessed this. This would have been around May 16th is when I sent the note to Mark. But I thought I would bring it back to us again and see what we
Sure.
think.
So
Maybe.
Yep, and as you indicated, it has been brought up in the past. Previously, we did not have any no parking signs along, or very few, if any. We did pass the town board did pass a resolution authorizing the establishment of a traffic control device, being the no parking signs along that stretch of Scribner Road. Those were installed. I know, previously Tony, as the town supervisor, had met with the sheriff's department, had notified and alerted them, as well as provided them a copy of that resolution that they could reference, that they were, signs to be, enforceable signs. I know the sheriff's department has been out there. I can't speak on behalf of them as to how many tickets they have or have not issued. I know our recreation department has sent letters to the coaches, asked the coaches to then pass on to the parents and any visitors. And, in the event that they see folks continuing to park there, to ask them to move their vehicles. Unfortunately, we do not have our own law enforcement department.
Right.
As a result of such, we do need to rely on the assistance of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department for the enforcement of those signs themselves. We don't have the ability to write those tickets. I would certainly encourage, everyone here, as well as anyone that might be watching, any residents, that are driving up and down the road. If you see cars that are parking there, make a phone call to 911 and ask the sheriffs to come out and either write tickets or ask, folks to move their vehicles and get out of there. Not only is it, a safety hazard having cars, pulling off the road or back into traffic, it also causes damage to the town park itself. Especially if the grass is wet, causing ruts. Others that could be walking, if they're not walking directly on the concrete sidewalk, they may step and trip in those ruts. So certainly need, a little assistance from, just the community itself.
You give the police, the sheriffs, tell them every Saturday and every Sunday morning. I drove by there Sunday on my way to a showing, and there was, I think it's lacrosse that plays there.
Yes, they are.
It was, both the parking lots were completely empty, and everybody, there were like 16 cars parked on the grass where it says, right by you open the door, you see the sign that says no parking on the grass, and there they are. And then I think the weekend that you're talking about, it was crazy. Maybe it was the first weekend or something. They were pulled in, and then people were parking behind them. I'm thinking, well, they're not going to be able to get out until these people leave, and they're parking on the sidewalk, and people. I see our neighbors using that for walking their dogs, riding their kids around their bikes, that kind of thing, pushing strollers. It was crazy. They were parked up and down all the side streets on people's lawns. It was just like nuts.
I will make sure I know our supervisor, Marie Cinti, does meet on a regular basis still, as Tony used to, with the Sheriff's Department, and I will talk to her about this and make sure that she brings that up on her agenda, because that's probably needs to just be reinforced.
Right.
And that this is, and also I think reaching out to the teams again, the coaches, maybe the rec department, and Eric Fitz, our rec director, can reach out again. Thank you, Eric,
I can do that.
For that, and then just
crazy.
remind them that that there are no parking signs, and that they will be getting tickets, and we don't want to see residents get
The
tickets.
town's added quite a bit of parking there, so I
Right,
think initially there was a concern maybe there was not enough parking, so we expanded or doubled the lot on the south end, and then most recently last year, Eric and his team went in and added a parking lot on the north end. So I think initially people could say, well, the parking lot's full, there's not enough space, there's not enough room. But if you're indicating the parking lots were empty, we've gone to...
On Sunday morning, this past Sunday morning, they were empty and there were cars just parked on the
gone
grass.
to lengths to add parking and make it, accessible for people and able for them to use it, so they don't have an excuse at that point. Before, you could have said, the parking lots are full, there's no other spot, so I had to park here. But if the parking lots are empty and available, then there's really no excuse at that point.
You know what, it's just, I don't understand parents. They pull in and they just sit in their car and watch their kids play. I think that's why they park there. Well, I don't know, do we have bleachers that we could put up
I didn't
there?
observe anyone in the cars.
I've noticed people sitting in the cars. But I'm thinking, get out, bring your chair. I mean, that's how I got my tans, was sitting there watching my kid play sports, right? Get out there, root for your kid, don't sit in the car.
Good point. Okay.
It's just
Came here
me.
with our kids, but-
Okay, I think, are we good on that? All right. Next, number 4, New York State Department of Transportation meeting updates. I'm not sure who's
That can be me.
that.
No, I just wanted to share, we had our annual meeting with the state DOT. I think we're one of the few, if only, towns that meet with the state on a regular basis, and I think they find it beneficial. I think we find it beneficial just to share what and where we see new development coming in, where we have, areas that, are continuing to grow, and then share with them, areas we have of concern. They had it in plan and it wasn't our doing, but if you've been out recently, you've seen that they've milled and paved Blossom Road. So Blossom from Creek all the way to 590 has been paved. And then currently they're working on Atlantic Avenue. Might be some delays, but they're, milling out the deep ruts and the areas that are the potholes, that we have. That current project is going from Qualtro to 250, not all of Browncroft. I know Mary had a concern down at the bottom of the hill with a spot they put a cone in. I think they were doing some patching, but they're fixing the deep areas and then going to mill and pave that section. So see some improvements there. And then we also talked with them as we're seeing development up 250. We've got through the mixed use area from the YMCA all the way up to Penfield Center Road. We've got some projects coming, so we've talked to them that we're looking to do a study in there, and it's their road, but we're looking to do a study over that area, so as developers come in, they can pay for infrastructure, pay if there needs to be a middle turn lane, pay, their fair share of, what their traffic impacts are. So, just wanted to share that it was, a good meeting with the state. They're very willing to work with us, which is appreciated that they're open to that conversation and open to that, that back and forth discussion.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Any other input on? Great. All right. Okay. And I believe we have a couple held items. We have under new business. Does anyone on the committee have any new business?
I do have 2 items on new business. So
Okay.
the one, we just received a request from a resident on Liberty Street. So on Liberty Street, they are asking for, and I have yet to deal with, a request for a convex mirror on the corner pulling out of where they are. They're on the bend and having concerns seeing around that corner. So it is a town road. I know we have some in other places. I don't know if anybody's ever asked or they just kind of shown up. But I just chatted with Eric and thought we'd bring it up to the committee and, while I get to the
It's probably
right
a good
spot,
idea,
but-
that new guacamole
Guacamole.
restaurant.
Guacamole's down here. They were
Has
looking
been-
at this corner up in here.
So a lot of traffic from
As they
that.
pull out, there may be more traffic coming up and
That's-
down
it's
Liberty
a-
Street to kind of see around the bend. And
Yeah.
That's my area because I come in and out of there all the time. It is a tough corner. in
Oh, that's
there.
right, you live up.
So there is a-
Cobblestone I live on.
Yep.
So
there is
that
a light pole on the opposite corner here that may help seeing around that corner. It's just not something I dealt with. We just received the call. We can dig into it further, but just thought, we'd share that with the committee that we did get that request. I initially thought it was out at 250 or at 441 for, a mirror or something on the street to see up the hill. That obviously falls under the, the state's determination there. This was on that inside corner, which, was a little different than what I had
So
expected.
when you see it on the inside corner, how would, on both directions, would somebody notice?
Well, if you have a convex mirror,
Yeah.
you can kind of see around that. That's what it kind of bends it. So you could see, what's around the corner a little bit.
From both directions, yeah.
From both?
So it's something
Something to-
let's say we don't have any information to provide the committee tonight. We'll
Okay.
do a little bit more research, come back, share it with this group.
Okay.
Have we
so
ever
you can-
put mirrors up anyplace in town?
Yeah.
I'm trying
I
to
don't
think.
believe we ever have. I've seen a few in spots that, residents may have done them coming out of like their own driveway or something,
Yeah.
have it, so they can see both ways, but I've never,
Is there any in other
John, I don't-
towns that we could take a look at?
that's what
Yeah.
kind of what I was floating it out to the greater group and seeing
Okay.
where else, but I think we just need to do a little research on that, but I had gotten that
Yeah.
request and would,
Okay.
obviously willing to do
That's actually a reasonable request.
Yes.
obviously willing to do the research, look into it, I don't know what I don't know, and,
Okay.
does it cause an issue at times with the sun, if that could create a glare? What size, what height, if we were to, consider it, what kind of goes into that. So I've got a little bit more work to do, but just
Okay.
Okay,
wanted to share with the group that we just did get that request in recently.
thank you. And I believe you have one more
I
new
do.
business?
So at the last meeting, we also had a gentleman here and spoke about Valley Green Drive. He had concerns about speeds on that, so subsequent to that, we did put our traffic counters out, and we just pulled them up yesterday, so I wasn't sure if we'd have the data yet. Well, overall, the average speed was 23. The 85th percentile was 28. There were a few speeds that exceeded that, and surprisingly, some were in the 45 to 50 range.
Right.
And it seems like they were in like the 7 to 8 o'clock hour. So I think we can share that with the sheriff's office. It seems like they were decidedly specific on kind of when they were, so whether it's the same individuals, but they were only certain days a week. It was only like 2 days out of the 7-day period that it was in that time frame. So it just kind of was a bit odd, but we can share that with the sheriff's office, and hopefully they can kind of park there during those times and pick those off. I know the resident did have a request for some children at play signs. I think we kind of tabled that discussion based on getting some additional data. Some not on Valley Green, but we did them on Valley Green, as well as Lazy Trail. Lazy Trail just because we were in the area and hadn't counted it in a while, so we did counts on those. Lazy Trail came in at the average speed at 17. I don't think I have the 85th percentile on that. The fastest speed was 33, so that one was kind of more just information gathering. There was 843 cars versus Valley Green. We had over 4,800 cars, so you can just see
Wow.
the difference of what's going through. And I know they've said it, some people, and it's interesting they find that as a
cut-through.
viable cut-through,
Yes.
but going from Whalen over to 441, it's quite
Wow.
a
Wow.
That's a lot of cars.
quite a path to get through as a cut-through, but it seems like in that morning peak hour period that some days a week, the traffic's there, but it seems like a couple people are going faster than they should, so we can
Obviously,
Again.
those were the days they were running late.
share that with the sheriff's office and maybe have them
And I-
patrol, and I think if we can give them a specific time.
I think we shared,
that
or
definitely
Eric
helps.
maybe shared that they do have those strips on the stop signs, maybe? There are them on there, too. I think you mentioned that last time, so we do have that, Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just pulling up Valley Green Drive, so it seems quite a circuitous route. So we had our counters in here, kind of pick up that straightaway. We had other counters here over on Lazy Trail on the side, but I mean, I don't live there, so I don't see it, but come down Summer Glen, Valley Green to Hill Rise, around to Brentwood. Seems like a long
It does seem like,
way path to go, but obviously people are
Okay.
using Waze apps and other stuff nowadays, finding alternate routes and other spots, so we can at least, verify that the children at play signs,
okay.
are up as you come into the neighborhood, remind people of that, and then I say we'll share with the sheriff's office, I think a definitive period of time, that they could
That they
put
should
somebody
be
out there and
out there
kinda
looking.
track that, and then hopefully kind of nip that in the bud if we've
Great.
got a few people that are
Yeah.
exceeding the speed limit.
Anybody else have any comments on that? Okay. That's good work on that. Thank you very much.
And then the last new business item we have is that, excuse me, there was a request for this committee to move to Tuesdays come the fall. As the zoning board is looking at their hours and everything else, they're looking to possibly move a little bit earlier. So there was a request to move this committee to Tuesdays in the fall. And I believe that worked for most of this group, so I think we're going
I
to.
think everyone agreed.
Yeah,
I
we're-
think I saw
yeah.
email. Everybody was fine with that? Great. So starting the September meeting, we'll look to move to a Tuesday, same time frame, 5
Yeah, it was
o'clock?
fine with me, except I did send a note that if we have public participation, I may have to leave at 6
Okay,
because I do have another scheduled appointment at 6 on Tuesdays.
okay. Is that still fine with you then, Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah, 5 to 6
Great.
is okay.
Okay.
That allows me enough time to get
Okay.
where I have to go.
If everybody's in favor of that, then we'll go ahead
Yeah.
and we'll move that. Great. Thank you, Mark, on that. And so this brings us now to the committee, part of public participation. I don't see anybody calling in, unless downstairs has anyone. I don't see any emails. Thank you so much, Ryan. So then we're looking for our next meeting will end up being September 20th. That's a Tuesday at 5 PM right here in this, in the auditorium. So without, if there's nothing else, if anyone has nothing else to add.
So we're not going to cover the held items or those?
No, we're still waiting for some information on those.
Information on those,
Sorry.
okay.
Yes.
All right, that's all I just wanted to know.
Similar to
Okay.
town board and other boards, we leave them on there so we don't show them as a
Forget 'em.
forgotten item, but
Okay,
Thank you.
they're not forgotten. We've just got some additional data together for those, and we'll bring it back to
gotcha.
the board.
Okay,
Thanks, Lori. Yes. So then I will close this meeting of the Transportation Committee at 5:25, and I hope everyone has a very safe and happy night. So be careful of all those storms out there. I think it's.
it looks like it's coming. It was getting dark when I came in.
Yes. Thank you all. Have a nice evening and enjoy your summer. Thanks.